Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the National Railway Museum in York, a place where time seems to pause for a while. The heartbeat of Britain's transport story still echoes beneath vast iron rafters. This is where engineering becomes memory and memory becomes inspiration. Every locomotive, every polished handle and painted crest carries the weight of journeys once made, journeys that shape towns, families and entire generations. The first steps into the museum feel like a lit-through stepping through time. The air changes. You sense the hum of history. There under the great arch roof, you can almost hear the whisper of steam and the faint clang of tools from a distant workshop. For many visitors this is more than a collection of engines. It's a celebration of movement, progress, discovery, and the idea that travel connects more than places, it connects people. York has always been a city of journeys. Its station, once among the largest in the world, symbolised Victorian ambition. Trains from here linked the north to London, Scotland and the coast. It feels fitting that the story of Britain's railway should find its home right here, at the heart of the network that helped create it. The museum gathers together centuries of innovation, from the earliest puffing giants of the 1800s to the sleek precision and modern electric trains and high-speed designs. The collection tells a story of courage and craft. It's a reminder that engineering is not only about the metal, it's about imagination. As you wander the halls, the size of these machines take your breath away. They're powerful yet graceful, monumental yet intricate. You find yourself drawn to details, the brass fittings, the paintwork, the typography of the names that once thunders along the rails. Each one speaks of pride. The museum invites you to slow down, to stand quietly beside the engines that once pulled thousands of passengers through wind, rain and snow. You look at the curves of the boiler, the geometry of the wheels and the arteries in something built purely for function. You can start to realise that beauty can live in industry too. There's something hypnotic about trains. Even standing still, they suggest motion. They remind us that every journey begins with a moment of anticipation. The sound of a whistle, a cloud of steam, and that deep rumbles as the wheels begin to turn. In the 19th century these sounds changed the world. They brought speed where there had been distance, and opportunity where there had been isolation. The railway stitched the fabric of Britain together, coast to coast, village to city, factory to port. And behind every track laid and every engine built were thousands of ordinary people, working with extraordinary skills. The museum honours them all, the drivers, the firemen, the engineers, the designers, the clerks who kept timetables exact to the minute. Together they built something that became part of daily life around the world. Wandering here you feel that legacy. There's an unmistakable smell of old iron and oil. The cool echo of footsteps across the floor. Visitors speak in low tones, partly out of respect, partly out of awe. Children look up wide-eyed at the wheels taller than themselves, while older visitors nod knowingly, remember when these giants still roamed the rails. The displays are arranged like a chapter of a living book. One area tells of early experiments, fragile-looking engines with tall chimneys and open cabs, their simplicity hiding the brilliance of their innovation. Another area celebrates the golden age of steam, where locomotives were national icons. Railway posters promised holidays by the sea or adventures in the countryside. Everywhere turn there's contrast. Steam beside diesel, tradition beside innovation. Hand painted craftsmanship behind computer design precision. The past and future face each other across the museum floor. The light filters through the high windows, catching the edges of metal and turning everything silver and gold. How it shifts as the day moves on, as the railways once carried people through changing landscapes and times of day. The National Railway Museum is also about scale, the vastness of ambition. It reminds us that Victorians built big because they dreamed big. Stations were cathedrals, bridges were monuments, and locomotives were statements of national confidence. To stand among them now, you can feel that same sense of wonder. Every component had a purpose. Pipes, rods, valves and bolts, each working together in perfect timing. It's the sound of precision turned into power. And while we often take travel for granted today, you can see the sense of how revolutionary it once was, to move at such speed across such distances. The museum story isn't only about machines, it's about people and time. There are photographs of workers, their hands blackened by coal dust, their faces proud and tied in equal measure. There are diaries, uniforms, letters and tools, reminders that progress was built by human effort, not magic. You can imagine those long shifts in these depots, the hiss of cooling metal, the rhythm of maintenance through the night. The line between art and labour blurs when the results are this beautiful. Many visitors come for nostalgia, for the romance of steam, the memory of childhood holidays, the sound of a platform bustling with energy. That nostalgia is gentle, not sentimental. It's an appreciation of craft, of simpler journeys, of watching the countryside roll by without having to rush. For children today, the museum offers something else, curiosity. Engines become puzzles to understand, stories to unlock. It's a place where science becomes tangible. Physics, design, teamwork, all wrapped in a sense of discovery. There's an entire section dedicated to the evolution of passion to comfort. You might glance through the window of an ordinary carriage, rich with polished wood and patterned fabric, then turn to see the clean lines of a high-speed modern train. The difference tells its own stories, the way travel has mirrored social change. In one corner stands the grandeur of a royal train, carriages once reserved for kings and queens, furnished like palaces on wheels. They speak of status and ceremony, but also of an age when the railway was a symbol of being modern and one of national pride. Elsewhere you will find the humble workhorses, freight engines, postal carriages and maintenance vehicles. They may lack glamour, but they carried the lifeblood of the country, letters, goods, and the quiet efficiency of everyday life. The museum balances both sides perfectly. Luxury and labour, ambition and routine, each depends on the other. York itself forms part of the experience. Step outside and the tracks that curve past the museum still hum with that activity today. Modern electric trains glide by, quieter, faster, smoother, yet following the same route carved out more than a century ago. The past and present coexist, separated only by a pane of glass. Back inside, light shifts across the engines as clouds pass overhead. Their polished surfaces reflect fragments of movement, footsteps, camera flashes, the turn of a head. Even in stillness, the space feels alive. The museum design encourages exploration. No fixed route, no rush, just space to wander through and pause. You might circle the same locomotive twice, noticing something new each time. A manufacturer's plate, a dent in the metal, a hand-painted detail on a buffer beam. It's the small things that give these giants personality. Every detail invites reflection on the human side of engineering. Someone once tightened that bolt, painted that line, stoked that firebox. Someone heard that engine breathe life for the first time, and now decades later, others stand and listen to the silence and the imagining of what those sounds would have been like. That's the quiet magic of the National Railway Museum. It transforms industry into poetry without saying a word. It lets you sense, rather than see, how much these machines meant to the people who built and used them. As you move deeper into the museum, you pass display boards describing routes and records, speed trails, world first records, heroic journeys. But even these feats are framed by human stories. The determination to push a little faster, climb a little higher, or to connect one more town to another. Progress built mile by mile, driven by curiosity and courage. Here history isn't behind glass, it's around you. The floor trembles faintly when a rail train passes on the nearby main line, a subtle reminder that the story continues beyond the museum walls. It's not just a past on display, it's a living legacy still in motion. And through all of it there's York, a city whose rhythm has always been tied to the rails. The sound of trains is part of its soundtrack. The sight of carriages rolling by, part of its everyday charm. Visitors who arrive by train step into history the moment they step onto the platforms. inside the museum, that continuity feels complete. You can trace a line from the earliest experiments to today's innovations, from soot-covered engines to software designers guiding modern locomotives by computer. The story of the railway is a story of adaptation. Every exhibit here is evidence of a moment when someone imagined something better, a stronger boiler, a lighter chassis, or a smoother ride. In that sense, the museum isn't just about what's been achieved, it's about what can still be imagined. And as you walk among these giants, you feel part of the same spirit of invention, because even though the engines rest now, their story keeps moving, carried forward by every visitor who walks these halls and leaves inspired. As you wander deeper into the National Railway Museum, a theme begins to emerge. It isn't simply a place about machines, it's a place about imagination. Every locomotive, every carriage, every display began with an idea. The thought that we could move faster, travel further, and connect more completely than ever before. You begin to notice how the collection reflects the passing of time. The early engines, proud and upright, almost delicate in their design, contrast with the later, more powerful giants, broader, heavier, built for endurance rather than experimentation. Each generation of engineers left their signature, and walking through the museum is like reading their handwriting across the years. The sense of progress is unmistakable. Here the world's first steam locomotive shares space with streamlined masterpieces that once broke records. It's an evolution you can see, not just in technology but in confidence. The Victorians believed the railway could conquer time itself, and for a while it almost did. There's something inspiring about that boldness, that people didn't know yet what was possible, but they tried anyway, often at risk, sometimes at great cost. The rails they laid, the engines they built, shaped not only transport but culture. They gave Britain its pulse. The museum tells that story, through not only words alone, but through presence. Standing beside a locomotive that weighs over 100 tons, you can feel its mass, even in its silence. You can imagine it's alive, the sound, the movement, the heat. And you realise how extraordinary it is that human beings made this happen, with little more than steel, coal, and some willpower. In another part of the museum, the focus shifts from industry to elegance. Carriages once built for long-distance comfort are displayed like rooms, polished wood, soft seating, glass and brass. They speak of an age when travel was something to be dressed for, when journeys were as much about the experience as the destination. You can picture the soft flicker of oil lamps, the quiet clatter of wheels, and the distant conversations of passengers heading north or south.